Welcome to deliverable 4. In this set of tutorials, we're going to cover roadway modeling. So this is going to be very jam-packed. In my opinion, this is going to be the hardest deliverable or the longest deliverable, whichever way you want to look at it for you guys. Highly recommend starting early and being very thorough as you go through this. These videos are going to be long. I want to give you guys as much information and help as I can. So feel free to speed it up or slow it down as you need. I'll be talking a lot. The general process of this will be making roadway alignments, then profile views, then making assemblies, modeling corridors, modeling two intersections, and then creating a corridor surface. And then from there, you'll make your drawing sheets to submit for this deliverable number 4. We're going to start by working on the large satellite GIS surface that you modeled your buildings on. So we're going to create a copy of this file, and I recommend creating a lot of copies. Create more than I do. Some of these tools can be difficult to use, and I don't want you guys to lose a large amount of work if something were to go wrong with your design. I'm going to call this alignment preparation, because that is what we are going to do in this tutorial. And I'll go over what all of this stuff means, obviously, as we go through it. All right, so you can see I have my full OHIL surface here with my buildings modeled, and if I open up some aerial imagery, you can see the location that we're in. So the general process of this is going to be modeling the roadway in terms of a plan view, then a profile view, and then a section view, and then putting it all together. And those correspond pretty well with those steps I was talking about alignments, profiles, and assemblies. And so that's the general flow of this. But we don't have survey data to make the roadways on. We're going to be modeling McCormick Road, Alderman Road, and Treehouse Drive over here, just so you guys can get good practice with this, and you'll have a pretty robust model at the end of this. It's pretty cool. So since we don't have survey data to go off of, we are actually going to rely on this aerial imagery that is provided through Bing or Esri. And I know previously I mentioned that this background should be a guide, not a crutch, and that is true for most aspects of design. Just for the purposes of this project, it didn't make sense to get high resolution survey data for this entire site. You know, we don't have the funds for that. You guys don't have the time for that. It's just not worth it. So we're going to use this aerial imagery. So we want this aerial imagery to match up with our surface pretty well. If I zoom in a little bit here, you can probably start to see all these contour lines have space for a roadway, right? If you look here, this looks like it could be a road, right? Same looking at here. But if you turn on the imagery, it doesn't actually match up. Right, the roadway center should probably be around here, but in the imagery is here. So we're going to move the imagery. If you're watching this in 2025, I had already posted a video to Piazza demonstrating how to move that, but we're going to go over it here as well. So to move the imagery, go to your geolocation tab, and then go to edit location from Esri Maps. I think you can also go through reorient marker. So we're going to open this up, and you can see pins. These pins are reference points. It's important to note that as we do this, we are not moving your surfaces, your contours, your objects, your lines, none of that. All of those are staying in the same spot. What we're moving is the imagery in the background. So you need to move it according to that. So I have 3 markers here. I honestly don't know what these markers are, but this third marker is actually our state plane. If I zoom out, you can see the state of Virginia. So right now our reference point is somewhere here, west of Lynchburg, north of Bedford, in the middle of nowhere. I don't know how to move that around accurately. So what I want to do is change this reference point to be somewhere on my site so I can move it around a lot easier. So I'm going to go to Charlottesville, zoom in to UVA, and go to OHIL. A pretty easy reference point for me to use is the intersection of Alderman and McCormick. So I am going to zoom into here, and then right click on the screen and move my marker here. Again, this marker is the reference point. I'm going to click next, and it's going to ask me to just confirm a state plane that I'm using. so VA83SF, this should be automatically selected and in feet, assuming you picked the right state plane and you're using the Imperial version of Civil 3D. Now it's asking me to select a point that represents that same place. And this is on my drawing file, so the surfaces and the contours and everything. And I know it should be where the roadway intersects. It might be helpful to actually turn off your imagery before you start this process, so that way you aren't trying to compete visually with the imagery not lining up with the surface. But I can see here pretty well that roadway and roadway probably intersects around here, so I'm just going to move my marker there. Then it asked me to specify a north direction. For us, all the data we collected, the north is just straight up. I recommend turning on this orthogonal mode in the bottom here. That way you can select only 90 degrees and you can get that straight vertical 90. So I just clicked to reorient it, and now you can see the imagery shifted a bit. Right now it's using the Esri imagery. That's totally fine to use. You can use any of these you want. I'm just going to stick with Bing because I'm used to it. And now you can see the imagery. You can see this lines up a lot better. The roadway is actually within those contour lines that look like a roadway on both sides. So I'm happy with this, but if you wanted to move it around, feel free to click reorient marker and then just select another point to reorient to, and you can move it that way too. Now that the imagery is moved though, you'll notice that my building's outlines no longer match up. So I'm going to go through really quickly and just use the move tool and move all of these as well. You might edit some of the line work, but honestly, that's not the goal of deliverable 4, so don't sweat this too much. I'm just moving it. That way, when we do model the roadway, things are mostly to scale. Otherwise, for example, we'll model Treehouse Drive, and that's going to go through a good chunk of the building here. So I'll be right back when I'm done with that. Right, so I moved my buildings around, and you can see that they don't match perfectly, but that's also totally okay. Again, not the purpose of this deliverable. Last thing I'm going to do for this preparation video is change my viewport here, so that way I'm capturing an area, just so we don't have the geolocation on and taking up valuable processing power. It's also much easier to work on the white background, in my opinion. So I'm just going to go here and turn off the rest of the geolocation. And when I zoom into this imagery here, you can see it's really low quality. So just click on it and change it from optimal, of course, to very fine. And you can see here it looks a lot better. Just turn the fade up a little bit. And there we go. Now we're ready to actually go over what an alignment is and how to create them.